I stood in the doorway, holding the apple pie my late wife used to bake every Christmas. The table was beautifully decorated. Candles were lit. Champagne glasses were filled. Every seat had a name card. Every seat. Except mine. My son looked embarrassed. My daughter-in-law shrugged. Then my younger brother smiled and said, "I didn't think you'd actually come." No one offered me a chair. No one told me to stay. So I quietly placed the pie on the kitchen counter, wished everyone a Merry Christmas, and walked out. 7 days later, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. The same family who couldn't find one empty chair for me suddenly couldn't solve a single problem without me. My name is Michael Anderson. I am 56 years old, and I live in Boise, Idaho, USA. After my wife, Susan, passed away 3 years earlier, Christmas never felt the same. She had been the one who held our family together. Without her, little cracks slowly became deep divisions. I stayed busy by running the commercial HVAC company I'd built from the ground up over 30 years. Business was thriving, but family was falling apart. I kept telling myself things would improve. I was wrong. That Christmas dinner was hosted by my younger brother, Richard. He insisted everyone should gather at his new house. When I arrived carrying Susan's famous apple pie recipe, I noticed something strange. The dining table had exactly 12 chairs. There were 12 guests, and I was number 13. Richard laughed awkwardly. "We thought you'd probably spend Christmas alone this year." My daughter-in-law avoided my eyes. Even my own son stayed silent. Rather than argue, I smiled, left the pie behind, and drove home. That was the loneliest Christmas of my life. The following Monday, I returned to work. Our company was finalizing negotiations to acquire a smaller regional contractor. While reviewing their client list, one name immediately caught my attention: Richard's Construction Company. For years, he'd relied on that contractor for nearly every major commercial project. The acquisition would transfer those contracts to me. A few days later, my operations manager informed me that Richard's company had already requested emergency scheduling. One of his largest projects had suffered a major equipment failure. Without immediate repairs, he'd miss contractual deadlines worth millions. Normally, we prioritized long-term clients. Richard wasn't one of them. That afternoon, my phone rang. It was my son. He sounded nervous. "Dad, Uncle Richard says only your company can fix this in time." I listened quietly. Then he added something that surprised me. "He wants to apologize." The next morning, Richard arrived at my office. The confidence I'd seen at Christmas dinner had completely disappeared. He admitted excluding me had been cruel. Then he confessed the truth. After Susan died, everyone assumed I preferred being alone. Instead of asking how I was doing, they simply stopped making room for me. It wasn't hatred. It was thoughtless indifference. Sometimes that hurts even more. I looked through my office window at the technicians preparing service trucks. Then I asked Richard one question. When was the last time anyone asked how I was after Susan died? He couldn't answer. Because nobody had. I agreed to help. Not because Richard deserved a favor. Because more than 80 construction workers depended on that project staying alive. My crews worked through the holiday weekend. The repairs were completed ahead of schedule. The project was saved. Dozens of families still received their paychecks before New Year's. That mattered far more than my pride. The following Sunday, my son invited me to dinner. This time when I arrived, something was different. Before anyone sat down, He quietly carried one extra chair to the head of the table. He placed my name card in front of it. Then he looked at me. "Dad, this should have been here last week." Nobody spoke. Nobody needed to. Some apologies are stronger without words. After dinner, Richard handed me a small wooden box. Inside was Susan's old handwritten Christmas recipe card. He had found it tucked inside the pie dish I'd left behind. On the back, in her handwriting, was a sentence I'd never noticed before. "There's always room for one more at our table." I had to look away before anyone saw the tears. Today, every Christmas is hosted at my home. The table is intentionally larger than we need. There's always one empty chair. Not because we're expecting someone, but because no one who walks through my front door will ever wonder whether they belong. Because the Christmas my family couldn't find a seat for me. They thought I would quietly disappear. A week later, they learned that making someone feel invisible can cost far more than saving one empty chair.